But one of the things I'm going to be talking about at the event is how poets can kind of help set a rhetorical edge for the church.
Well, good morning and welcome to Chinook Podcast. We are gathered here in Grand Prairie, Alberta, and on Chinook Podcast, we are praying and working for a wind of the Holy Spirit to move in Western Canada, expecting that God will use us for His glory, for the upbuilding of His church and the growth of His kingdom. So welcome to, we're happy to...
He said sorry. He's a Canadian.
Yeah.
You know what?
Terrible.
Not even a minute in and he's apologizing.
Am I in the middle of a group of Canadians?
I think you might be.
I just lost where I was going with that. But anyway, welcome, Joffre.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
We have Joffre Swait on the podcast with us.
Hello, everybody. Here in person. Unbelievable.
Here in person. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That's awesome. So we should probably start with our tradition.
Yeah,
our
let's start with book reviews.
Yes. What do you have, Pastor Nathan?
Okay, well, I'm going to start with, I've mentioned this in a former podcast episode, but Out of the Ashes by Anthony Esolen. I'm really enjoying this book, and I'm just going to read a paragraph or so just to get you thinking about worship and the importance of worship. We are servile for mass entertainment when we could be free with our hearts and ourselves for the worship of God, which truly builds up a human community rather than just herding people in an aggregate of many thousands who do not know each other and whose only common bond is that they prefer a certain style of uniform. But why would we care to make our churches beautiful when what goes on in them is slipshod and is not felt to be of even temporal consequence, let alone eternal? We do nothing in the week that is more significant than serve God by prayer. That is a fact. We have forgotten it. Our hearts skip a beat when someone gives us a surprise ticket to the baseball game. Those same hearts plod along at their usual sluggish tempo when we dress for church, if we dress for church at all. So we end up with stadiums that will not last 20 years before the owners of the ball club demand new ones. Chartres Cathedral has been standing for 800 years. Think of it, everyone. Preachers, parishioners, choristers, artists. So I like his contrast between the temporality of the world that we're living in, and he contrasts that constantly with things that have substance and beauty. Anyway,
And permanence.
Yeah.
permanence, yes.
Yeah, that's quite something. If you if you look with modernist eyes at the what you call the Dark Ages, and you think about how many cathedrals were built in the
Dark Ages.
Oh yeah, right.
So speaking of building cathedrals, one of the things that I just learned recently was how they would draw out the blueprints. They would cast a plaster board on the floor of the cathedral, and then the architect would take his tools and he would inscribe the pattern on this plaster, and then the masons would come over and they'd be like, oh, I need to make this arch or whatever. And so then they would take measurements off of that and then go back to their block of stone, scribe it in there, and then start chiseling. They would draw the blueprints on the floor, basically. And then when they needed to do the blueprint for the next section, they would just take like a trowel and they'd wipe the plaster flat and then scribe the next bit in.
Huh.
Yeah, it's very cool. And you can get very precise, and if the guy has a question about the measurements, you can just walk over and look at them.
Yeah. That is very cool.
Yeah.
It's fun to think that a generational project like that would have semi-permanent blueprints.
Yes, and they've actually found some of these, in the basements or underneath, in a subfloor somewhere, just tucked away. They found some of them.
Interesting.
Wow.
Okay, well, I have a book in my hand that I remember reading probably 20 years ago. It's a New Verse translation of Beowulf by Seamus Heaney.
And it's a pretty epic book.
It is a pretty epic book.
Yes.
There's a on the cover. There's a human head completely engulfed in chainmail.
As most human heads should be.
That's pretty awesome. So, anyways, Beowulf is one of the really old stories of the West, and it's fascinating to dip into that time period and to see the this was written sometime when the advent of Christianity into that area was really quite recent.
Very, yes.
And so it's a fascinating look. It's an epic poem, and it's really worth your time digging through.
Well, I love that particular translation, Haney's translation, has become like a thing in itself.
Right.
Like it really was a great work, like the translation itself.
Yeah.
And very deservedly, it's become like this generation's Beowulf.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So Beowulf, by New Verse Translation by Seamus Haney.
So, funny story about Beowulf. My last summer when we went to my father-in-law's cabin for a week, my son and I were riding in my car because we didn't have enough room in the family car for all of our stuff and all of our people. So Walt, he's 8 right now.
Okay.
And we listened to your reading of Beowulf.
Nice.
The whole way there. And I put it on and I said, "You want to listen to Beowulf?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know, Dad." I'm like, "Oh, it's got like fighting." He's like, "It's got fighting and soldiers."
That's like a Princess Bride show.
So we got into it. We were in Hythe, which is about 45 minutes down the road, and he turns to me. He's like, "Dad, this is great."
That's actually Doug Wilson's translation, which is another good one. I wasn't sure what to expect going into it, and it's a lot more plain spoken than Haney's, but but he does a great job with rhythms and with very direct language. It's also a fun read. Yeah, I'm glad he enjoyed it.
Oh, he actually wants to listen to it.
So in order to do something like that, you have to get a real grasp of old English language.
Yeah.
Which is really another language. It's different than ours. It's a different character.
It's a beast, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and one of my favorite things about that sort of English poetry, like old English poetry, and it's something I think we should try to carry forward more actively into modern poetry, are kennings. Like the classic one people bring up are like the Whale Road.
Right.
It's like you name a thing, something else, but it's clear what it is. Like the Whale Road is obviously the sea, the ocean, the paths our ships take. So that's something that Anglo-Saxon poetry was really good at.
Yes.
Yeah. So and it's a fun thing to read in Beowulf. The Helliond is another. Has anyone here read the Helliond?
No.
So I think it's Saxon, but it's German from like Germany,
right?
From just before the Beowulf time. But it's a retell. It's actually the sort of thing that if it weren't so old, like modern missionaries would eat up, sometimes for not great reasons, because it's a contextualizing of the gospel.
Ah, there you go.
For Saxons, for Germans. So it's so Jesus goes up to the hill fort of Jerusalem, and but everything is Saxonized. And it's actually really cool. As long as you don't take it as scripture, it's a great retelling.
Nice.
The Helliond, it's called.
Nice.
Brad, you've got some other classic literature there.
I do. So the other day, I was a bit tired. I'd been working on my pickup truck, and I was, I wanted something to read, and I didn't want to scroll on my phone. So I pick up a classic work. It's called Tintin.
Tintin.
Tintin. I cannot speak highly enough of these things. Tintin is great. First off, the art is quite beautiful. It's detailed where it needs to be, and but it doesn't distract you from the plot. But one of the things I love about these stories is that whenever somebody tells Tintin he can't do a thing, he is convinced in his mind that he is now going to go do it. Yes. Is this a hard thing? Oh, I will find a way. Does he have a plan? No.
Right.
Not at all.
He's just going to put himself in this situation.
Yeah, I'm just throwing myself in, and we'll see what happens. And it works out. Like, there's one story here. He's looking for a lost tribe of headhunter Indians because he needs to figure something out about this artifact that he's chasing down, and he hasn't seen the artifact yet. And I'm like 2/3 of the way through the story, And so he's talking to a fellow, how do I get to this lost Indian tribe in South America? And the guy's like, oh, you can't go up there. The last guy that went up there lost his head 15 years ago. We haven't seen him since. We don't know what happened. And he's like, well, the very next thing he says is, do you think there is anyone who would agree to take me there? Like a marvelous thing. Right. He's a real go-getter. That kind of holy ambition, I think, is perhaps a thing that is instructive. Never be ashamed of the pleasures, the good pleasures of your youth. Return to these old books repeatedly.
The Tintin books are great. I can never decide, though. I mean, the greatest thing about Tintin, I think, is the earnestness, the sincerity he approaches life with. That probably puts it over the top. But between Asterix and Tintin, from my childhood, I'm not sure which of those are my favorites. But the Tintin books are awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I learned just about everything I ever learned about Roman army parlance. I learned from Asterix.
Yeah.
I'm
an authority.
I was probably 13 or 14 years old before I realized that parsley was not used as ear protection. I was into my teens before I realized that was an herb that you were supposed to eat.
Wait a second.
Parsley is earplugs. So, what book do you have?
Well, somehow I had forgotten that I would be expected to do this, so I just pulled something out of my backpack. I'm saying that in defense of my choice because it will be it's a bit abstruse, a bit philosophical, but I highly recommend this guy. So Nicolás Gómez Dávila, a Colombian philosopher, writer. Very little of him is available in English, but there is a book called The Authentic Reactionary.
Ooh, wow.
And he writes in aphorisms. So he writes these little sayings. Sometimes it's a sentence, sometimes it's 3 paragraphs. And you read through, like the sequences make sense, but he doesn't feel much of a burden to do all the attaching for you. But clearly, like things are building. And so it actually reminds me of reading like Pascal.
Yeah, nice.
It's very fun. But he's he's a 20th century guy. He used to call himself a pagan who believes in Christ. And he was, of course, radically anti-communist, described Western civilization as, in his time being part bordello, part dungeon, part circus. So and because he writes aphoristically, he's a lot of fun to read, and it's okay to read him in little spurts. So I'd recommend The Authentic Reactionary.
I gotta check that out. I'm gonna
buy a copy.
Yeah. The Authentic Reactionary. Give that name again.
Nicolás Gómez Dávila, Davila.
Okay.
Nice.
I actually really love just the style of Pascal. So if
Yes,
it's
me
a similar
too.
style, I'm sure I'll enjoy
That's
it.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that aphorisms. I get in so much trouble for those. But all right, so
Yeah.
where should we begin?
Well,
Or have we begun?
okay, so the reason why we have Joffre Swait in the studio
Is 'cause he's awesome.
Correct. I mean, let's just stop there.
All right, next week.
Anyway, the specific reason, other than Joffrey being awesome for him being in the studio, is that he's up here to talk to the church a little bit about his mission work that he's doing out of Moscow, Idaho, in Brazil, called Missao, Guanabara.
Right.
And anyway, he's going to be doing a bit of a poetry reading tomorrow night. We're going to do a bit of a fundraiser for him and all that. So anyway, I thought I'd first ask, what is Missao Guanabara? How did this begin?
Yeah.
What's your goals?
Well, what it is, I think the simplest, nutshelliest way to describe it is that it's a media ministry.
Yeah.
And so we produce video courses, books, and we're kind of just getting started. We have a couple of courses out and for Brazilian families. So a lot of, I expect a few people listening to this podcast will be familiar with Huguenot Heritage, which is a ministry to French speakers around the world out of our church as well. We're similar to that. So the Francis and Huguenot Heritage, they focus on Christian leaders and preparing Christian leaders. Our focus is a little more on fathers and families.
Okay.
But with similar sorts of content, but a little more of a turn toward the practical and toward a family audience, and toward leading your family as opposed to, say, leading a church.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's basically what we are. We just produce media for the Brazilian church. So secretly, I am Brazilian.
Secretly.
I mean, obviously, a lot of people know, but until you know, you don't know, right? So yeah.
Were you native Brazilian? Did you grow up there?
Yeah, I mean, being a native Brazilian is a little bit like being this phrase will be infelicitous, but a Native American or a Native Canadian, right? Like there are just so many streams that feed into it.
Exactly.
But yeah, so my dad's Brazilian, my mom's American.
Okay.
And I was born in Brazil, raised kind of back and forth between the two countries. We actually left Brazil for Edmonton, Alberta. So I had 1 year of living in Alberta and becoming an Eskimos and Oilers fan. Someone pointed out to me, by the way, that Edmonton sports haven't won anything since I was here.
89.
Did you do that?
I don't know. Well, but the Oilers can send me an offer.
Yes, move back to town so we can win.
Yeah.
Well, the Oilers have come close the last 2 years.
They sure have.
They have. But fallen apart at the last minute.
Yeah, rough. But yeah, so I actually have, so the Brazilian expression we use to describe kind of at least my part of the family, because I still have relatives down there, we visit, etc. But we dropped in by parachute is the expression, because really there's a sense in which my family was only there for a couple of generations.
Okay.
So I have 3 American grandparents.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, but so on the Brazilian side, my grandfather was American, not a cool dude, left the family, but paid for my dad to be educated at an American school in Brazil.
Okay.
So he actually got a scholarship from the Brazilian government, went up to the States to study, met my mom up here. So 3 American grandparents, but still Brazilian. I say I'm 100% Brazilian, 100% American, and people who don't like it can just go take a flying leap.
Well, there's an awful lot of you, so
yeah, exactly.
200%.
There is 200% of me. Yeah. Just for those who are just watching, I weigh like 350 and I'm 6'9", so I am the size of your favorite NFL left tackle.
Yes, that's awesome. So with this media ministry, would this be providing resources for the Portuguese-speaking audience similar to what Canon Press in their Canon Plus app and some of that stuff is doing in the English?
Yeah,
similar.
It is similar. I mean, so we're not providing, at least not right now, literary and artistic things. We do have a very practical bent of mind, but from a CREC, practical theology out the fingertips, all of Christ for all of life kind of way. And of course, I am a poet, so the content can get poetic, but it's very practically minded. And we don't do political content and that kind of thing. Although we encourage that. So like one of the main things that Guanabara has done so far is facilitate for-profit enterprises in Brazil, like Reformed publishing houses, acquiring rights and getting books. They're going to do a better job of that. I'm a capitalist and a free market guy. Right. So those guys have the right motivation if I can get them the books.
Yes.
Right. So helping with translating and that kind of, but putting it out under, and I say putting it out as if we secretly were doing all the work. We're not. They're doing almost all the work, but we facilitate and help make that happen.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
So when you translate Doug into Portuguese, how does it sound? Is he a better poet in Portuguese than in English?
That's hard to do. I don't know. But yeah, he's extremely popular down there. Like him personally, his family books have been bestsellers. In fact, there's one Reformed publishing house that basically exists because of those books. So they do all these other projects, but the Doug Wilson books just finance their whole operation basically. And so they put up stuff on like the 3 Forms of Unity and the Westminster Confession of Faith and all these great resources that effectively they're being funded by Doug Wilson books, which is just to indicate like how popular he is, especially among the Reformed, but broadly evangelicals with his family stuff. And I think that's an experience a lot of people have had, future men and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Brazilians have been pestering him for years to go down to Brazil.
Yeah.
He had reasons, family reasons, he couldn't travel abroad for a little while. But, that changed. So last year, he was able to go down. I was able to go down with him to an education conference. And it was an absolute blast. It was funny. I actually tried to talk to him about how he was received, and if it was different from when he goes to other conferences.
Right.
Because just there were so many Brazilian families and couples that were just so pleased to see him, and didn't ever think that would really happen. And his books changed their lives, and that's kind of an uncomfortable thing, I think, for Christians to look directly at.
Yeah.
What
do you do with the rock star?
Right, exactly, exactly. But at the same time, it's like, I get it. Like these are things that God really used to transform your life, and you're really grateful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they were expressing all that gratitude, but of course in a very Brazilian way. So it's Doug is a very Idaho man, so he's not particularly emotionally expressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, he loved it, and he did assure me that they weren't the craziest people he'd run into.
He's been up here before, so yeah. Oh, that's excellent. I can imagine the Brazilians being more effusive.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yes.
There was, he had to give out a couple of hugs to some of the dudes.
So next time we go to Presbytery, let's just line up and hug them.
Yeah. So the moderator or the presiding minister, I should say, of our denomination of the CREC is also a Brazilian.
Yes.
Right.
Based in the States, and he's pastored here in the States his whole life, but moved here, I think, when he was 15
I think
to
so.
the U.S. But he's a very effusive and emotional person.
Yeah.
And people love that about him. But hugs are going to start catching on the CREC.
They are gonna. Yeah. Well, we were down at the ad hoc meeting of the Canadian Presbytery, and Yuri came, and we were in Banff hanging out for the day, and it just surrounded by this beautiful, majestic scenery. We're sitting on the patio of the Banff Hotel, having a beer, and just looking at these mountains. And listening to him describe the mountains I was looking at was quite fun.
Yeah. He's also a poet, for sure. I don't think he writes poetry.
No.
But one of the things I'm going to be talking about at the event is how poets can kind of help set a rhetorical edge for the church.
Yeah.
Right. And, anyone who's read my poetry or heard me, there are plenty of things that I say in my poetry that really it's better not to say from the pulpit, right? But it sets that edge.
Yeah.
So Yuri, I think, embraces that, right?
Yes.
Like he wants to use colorful language and vivid language and language that creates a response in the emotions and affections.
Yes.
And having Reformed leaders who embrace that part of human rhetoric and just humanity is really refreshing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because it takes something that we generally relegate to the Pentecostals, and it and it builds Reformed stuff into it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it is.
Beautiful.
I mean, the classic phrase that we use in the Western Church for affections is order of affections. I mean, we can do things with affections in order. We can still be Reformed, baby.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So one of the debates that I heard in seminary was there was this discussion that was going on in the Reformed world about whether or not preachers should preach to the mind or should preach to the heart.
Yes.
And I think sometimes people pit these things against each other, and there's definitely an important mind element that I think the Reformed have been good on, because Romans 12 says, be renewed according to your mind, right? Mm-hmm. But God wants us to love him with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, so preach to it all.
Yes. And I think there are even two ways of conceiving of preaching to it all. One is that you're preaching to all those parts, but I would urge folks to instead be preaching to the whole.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
It is, you know,
Yes.
and Scripture makes those distinctions because we need those reminders.
Yeah.
But really, there's never any preaching to just the mind or just the heart, or this part is for the heart, this part is for the mind. We're always whole beings.
Right.
God made us that way. And so, you know, it's not just that you're hitting all the parts. Like I'm preaching to a man.
Yes.
Right. In all his fullness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, one of the things that started me thinking in that direction was something that my dad wrote in the liner of a Bible that he gave me. Now, he had this Bible in Bible school. It was an old King James with a leather cover, like a really nice onion leaf King James. And in the back, he had written, "If you would capture men's minds, you must paint pictures in their hearts." And I remember thinking to myself at the age of 16 when I got this Bible, well, that's strange. And then I started thinking about it later.
Yeah.
And no, he's actually, wherever he got this quote from, I don't know.
Yeah.
He might have come up with
I
it.
think he came up with it himself.
He might have. It might be an original Mike Donovan. I'm not sure. But I've meditated on that idea quite a bit, especially when composing a sermon.
Right.
Because I would not consider myself a skilled rhetorician, so I will compose a text.
Yeah.
And then go mostly in line with that text. And that's one thing that, especially when coming to the application parts, they're not really application parts. I don't separate application from interpretation in a strictly neat way.
Right.
Because that's not how the whole man is.
No, exactly. I think that when you make, even using the term application, I think is potentially deceptive.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a how-to list. It's an intellectual version of what to do.
Yep.
Right. As opposed to urging.
Yes.
Right. You know, there are other ways to motivate in the old-fashioned sense of the word people. Right. You move people to action.
Yes.
Right, but you don't have to put out a to-do list, which is what I mean. You don't obviously the best pastors wouldn't do that anyway.
Yeah.
But I think the word application makes us think that way.
It does.
Pushes us toward the modern.
It does push us in that direction. And the thing is, if I explain the text, like preaching is reading the text, explaining the text. Reading the text, explaining the text. It's not actually a complicated thing.
Showing Christ from the text.
Yeah, it's read it, explain it.
Yeah.
Make it understandable to your people. But the thing is, if you, if I come at a sermon, I say, well, I need these people to apply these three things, then I've actually limited their application, as it were,
Yes.
of a thing. So if I say something about, you know, some doctrinal statement that Paul will make, some beautiful thing, like Christ seated in the heavenlies, and I start going on about this, somebody in the pew might be sitting there and be moved to apply this in a way I had never conceived it. And if I narrowly cram too strict an application on them, then they may not ever get to that. Like there are, you know, how many ever people sitting in front of me, these all full of the Holy Spirit,
Right.
each living in their own skin,
Yeah.
can find different ways of believing, understanding, knowing.
And I've also interacted with Reformed preachers who reject the idea there should ever be any so-called application, right? Because that's the word that's used. And so their sermons are purely, you know, they're just abstruse things
Theological
that never.
treatises.
Yes. Right. And I think the solution is actually not a how-to list or you know the word application. It's thinking in those holistic ways and truth, beauty, and goodness.
Yeah.
Right. And we always think of truth first, but if your truth is not beautiful,
It's not
there's
true.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And goodness, too. It's the externalization of truth.
Right.
I mean, you look at, we were talking about cathedrals a minute ago.
Right.
A cathedral, you look at the beautiful cathedral, it's also a good cathedral because you've seen a bad one before. I mean, it had a rainbow flag on it,
Yeah.
right? So these things all come together.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something I was reflecting on more closely when I was preaching through Colossians 2, because at the very end, there's this section about do not taste, do not touch, and avoiding that kind of thinking. So I was like, okay, well, I do want to be more practical in my preaching, in the right sense of the word.
Right.
And I do want to focus on things, but I think it was a good opportunity to teach people you know what, there is a bad kind of practical that becomes legalistic. And I don't want to be going through worship services telling people, well, your dress should be 10 inches off the floor or 14 inches off the floor or things like that, right? I want to teach people how to be wise. I want to teach people how to glorify God in this world. And by getting too specific, sometimes you lose the big picture that applies to everybody in the congregation.
And that's one of the beautiful things about the law. God gives principles, and you're supposed to figure out, using wisdom, how to make this work. Like the parapet on the wall is one of my favorite ones. Yeah. He says in the law, you should have a parapet on your wall. And if somebody falls off your roof and you don't have a parapet, you're liable for them. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, it means I should probably check the brakes on my car once in a while, make sure the pads are thick enough. Now, that's an application that a guy sitting in the pew can make who owns a car.
Right.
Now, his 14-year-old son does not own a car. Right. So his 14-year-old son can make a different application. He can say, well, okay, I need to
check the brakes on my bicycle.
Check the brakes on my bicycle, yeah. And then my 8-year-old boy can sit there and say, well, that pocket knife that Dad gave me, I shouldn't leave it lying around so that my 1-year-old sister can find it, right? Yeah. So there's, we're supposed to exercise maturity.
Yeah. And this sort of wisdom actually kind of it connects with, I think, one of the great casualties of Protestants and the Reformed buying into the Enlightenment, a word we never use anymore, which is virtue.
Oh, I love that word.
There are virtues that we can talk about. You can live virtuously expressing those virtues. Mm-hmm. And that's another, so you have wisdom, then you have these categories of virtue. You can get more granular without getting pedantic or overly because as soon as you start giving instructions, you are tempting people toward weighing their spices.
Right. Here's my little bit of dill.
Right. Yeah.
See, you spoke metaphorically. And I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You got a poetic ear on.
This is what poetry gives us. Yeah. You can speak with metaphor and type and compression. I read that article you shared from Theopolis.
Oh yeah, wasn't that great?
It was.
So Garrett Searcy is a CREC pastor who is a musician and a poet.
Yes. Yeah. He used the word compression, speaking about impregnating meaning into a phrase. And with poetry, you can have compression.
Yes.
So you talked about the whale road, right? That's compression.
Or weighing your dill.
Yeah, or weighing your dill. Yeah, compression. You've layered multiple layers of meaning into a very small small phrase. And I'm picking up what you're putting down, which is also metaphor.
Sure is. So many images flying around. The imagination is sparking.
Oh,
These guys better be loving this episode.
Yeah, and if they're not, well, shame on you.
Well, and I think that's the sign of the younger man as well, is you come fresh out of seminary and your sermons tend to be longer because you need to use more words to say something, right?
Yeah.
But as you get older, like I listened to some of Doug's sermons or his ways of saying things, he can punch 3 or 4 paragraphs into a sentence.
Yes.
When you use it and wield it in the right way.
I think a lot of people think of literature and the work of great wordsmiths, including poetry, as flowery and overly complicated. Well, first of all, they've been exposed to bad stuff.
Yeah.
But also, they're not training themselves.
True.
The truth is, poetry in its own way is more efficient.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wow. If I look at this thing sideways, I see so much more.
Yeah. It's in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing I love about Shakespeare. His compression is just phenomenal. He can, in a phrase, say everything.
Right.
And then he carries on.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and then that's, I think, one of the, when you do in fact say everything in a phrase, when you find that beautiful line, that beautiful expression, it's actually one of those things that points to God.
Yes.
Right. But it's not God. The reason I'm saying that is there are things like the heavens declare the glory of God. We can look at the heavens and understand things about God. But if we stare at the heavens and start measuring and diagramming, we stop seeing God, right? You have to look at it kind of indirectly.
Yes.
to see beyond it, right? So when you have this beautiful phrase, you do actually have to move on from it. So that, so Shakespeare moves on. Why? Because if you sit there and stare at it, you'll kill it.
Yeah.
Right. But it was real while it lasted. You saw truth, beauty, or goodness in that moment.
Yeah.
So move on quickly.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Because the pride of staring at it will kill it too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there is something about that pride. I mean, I do enjoy a good analysis, but at a certain point, like, that can't be everything.
Because you can have a beautiful speaker who takes great pride in the way he says things, and it's dead because there's so much pride.
Yeah. Well, and the thing too is, like, if I sit there and, like, I look at poetry and I sit there and I analyze it, right? So I'm sentence diagramming Shakespeare. I'll never get to the good stuff. Like with Richard III, you'll never get to, a horse, my kingdom for a horse. You'll never get there if you sit there and diagram it.
Right.
You have to roll with the flow. You have to enjoy the whole thing.
And there's a great Dickens passage actually connecting two horses where there's this teacher who's teaching these orphans in this very modern, I guess they're not orphans. I think I just said that because it's Dickens.
Everyone's an orphan in Dickens, including the writer.
But he demands of a student, to tell him what a horse is, and he can't, right? And so then he asks one of his model students to define a horse, and this kid starts with the word quadruped, like a horse is a quadruped of such and such a height, with eats this and that. Yeah, that's not a horse.
No.
Right, it's the lack of definition was better than saying, "Yep, that's a horse."
Well, this reminds me of an old anecdote about Plato, because he was in his academy one time trying to define a man, and he came up between he and his students, because it was a dialogue between he and his students. They came to a man is a bipedal, featherless bird or something like that, So then Diogenes showed up the next day with a plucked chicken, threw it into the classroom, and said, "Behold your man."
Yeah.
Right? And Diogenes said more with a tortured chicken than, because I guarantee you that bird did not enjoy the plucking. No. He said more about man in that moment than Plato had the entire day previous.
So, kind of going back to the idea of killing things by over-examining them. There's a poem I read often to people just because it delights me so much, by Billy Collins. I assume we're just gonna it's okay to just read someone else's poem.
Go for it.
Go for it.
It's called Introduction to Poetry, because Collins, the former poet laureate, criticized by the poetry establishment for being just too plain spoken and people, but the people loved him. Like, he was one of the most popular, which is not saying much, but one of the most popular poet laureates ever, because people could understand his poetry. Imagine that. Anyway, but he taught literature and poetry as well. So this is called Introduction to Poetry, and he's talking about his students. I ask them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say, drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. They begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means.
So this is poetry meets a CIA extraction.
Okay,
you could torture the thing,
What's the name of that?
It's called Introduction to Poetry.
Okay, all right.
Thank
you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you get like a description, right? Richard III, I've got open in front of me. Right?
Yeah.
He's described as being a hunchback, right? And this is another thing he talks about. I that am not shaped for sportive tricks.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So he's not shaped for sportive tricks. Okay. So he's something's wrong with him, right? And then he physically anyway. I that am nor made to court an amorous looking glass. He just called himself ugly.
Right. Yeah. But with so many other tones, right?
He did.
Because one of the things he's doing in that speech is he's comparing himself
Yes.
to his brother, I think it is.
Yeah, he gets to that comparison by the end. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But he's already like, it's not just that he's calling himself ugly. He's talking about the sensual indulgence.
Yes.
And he's not that either because he's ugly.
Yeah, and he's also morally warped. And
Yes.
one of the great things about the opening speech from Richard III is that he acknowledges openly that he is morally warped.
Yeah. He's actually one of the best bad guys in history. I
love him.
Because he just like looks you right in the eye and it's like, yeah, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah, I'm a bad guy. Most bad guys, and here's the thing, most bad guys, including Adolf Hitler, would not say that they are the bad guy.
No, that's right, yeah.
But I showed this, I read this speech to my daughters one day because we were discussing poetry. And my oldest, she just lit right up. She was like, oh. So then I got YouTube out and showed them Laurence Olivier's introduction.
Yeah.
Which I think is really well played. But yeah, he's like, when you get into it, you're like, this man is morally warped, but in such a way that you can kind of see the when you get later into the play, you see how his descriptions of himself play out.
Yes.
Right. First off, he invents these prophecies to get his one brother killed by his other. And then he winds up with the dead guy's wife, even though she knows he's warped. He still manages to somehow convince her to marry him. Right? It's like he's the perfect bad guy.
Yeah, and because he is the perfect bad guy, it's actually he's unrelenting and unquestioning. He has no moral anguish or angst, right? Because he's so pure as a bad guy, the moral interest actually comes from the other characters.
Yes.
Right. So when she decides to marry him, like that whole like her
she has the internal struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or the scene, the murder scene in the tower with the two assassins.
Right.
That is some of the most compelling because like they are trying to come to terms with killing a defenseless man.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that dialogue is almost like absurdist 20th century theater.
It is.
Right. Like it's just, two characters in a room, and it's, it's Shakespeare, but it's like watching some Dutch play set in a basement, like these criminals, like trying to.
They're arguing about what, should we do? What's the moral quality of this?
Right.
How does this affect me?
Yeah, and by the way, they are funny, and that scene is also hilarious.
It is
but,
quite.
But yeah, it's morally so loaded because the villain's so pure. Everyone else is of interest.
Yeah, and no, the whole thing, but you can't get there without poetry.
That's right.
Yeah, the whole thing requires this compression, layers of meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the play that is the famous line now is the winter of our discontent.
Yes. Made glorious summer by the son of York. Yeah. And you're like, okay, what was he just talking about? He was happier in the fight.
Yeah, right.
He was much happier in the Civil War than in the peace.
Which is, it's funny because he describes himself as not made for sportive tricks. He is a great warrior.
Yes.
So he's not lacking in physical ability.
No.
When he says that.
Yeah. And he actually, he dies in battle. And then when they dug up a car park, and they found his grave.
Yeah, there's a movie about this that I haven't seen yet.
Neither have I, but I read about the excavation.
Yeah,
they found him buried under a parking lot.
I mean, this play is probably a great injustice to the actual man.
Possibly. Well, it does set him up as being worth digging up.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And worth talking about.
Yeah, so I don't really know the story, and Brad may know more, but. Like a housewife, right? It was some random, not academically qualified person became obsessed with finding Richard III, and found him under a city street after working really hard at it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was because whoever it was that figured it out, what they did was they went back to the records that we had, and they even took a little bit of information from Shakespeare because he had folk history, and they said, well, if he was buried within a distance of this abbey, I forget the name of the abbey, but it was a certain distance within this abbey in a particular direction. It was east or west, whatever. And they just started looking. They're like, well, he's probably down there somewhere.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. So then, now you can go to that car park and there's a plaque where his grave was. I think he's been reinterred. Hopefully in Westminster. That's really where a king should be.
Yeah,
Or in
agreed.
Winchester. But yeah, it's fantastic. But the character lives in our popular imagination
Yes,
because of Shakespeare, because of his poetry.
because of the lyricism. Yeah,
Yeah. Otherwise, he would just be another English king that died in a battle. You know, probably the largest land battle in England from, yeah. I don't think any battle in the Civil War was as big in terms of numbers of men involved. Like, it was a huge fight. So, but yeah, just a marvelously dramatic life and story that's really brought to the fore by poetry. Same thing that Shakespeare did with Henry V.
yeah.
Right. Shakespeare is the reason why English speakers for the last 400 years have thought that fighting the French is a virtue. I mean, like, that's
You mean that's not something we could just automatically assume?
No, I think this is Shakespeare. Right, and then
It seems like it would be satisfying work,
it would be,
regardless.
Yeah,
But yes.
you know, and here are tennis balls, you know, and, but the poetry has brought out the history.
Yes.
Even some of our love for classical history, like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
come these are such compelling characters? Well, I think a large part has to do with Shakespeare. I believe they recently made a movie about Cleopatra.
Yeah, they did.
I haven't seen it because I just don't want a modern take on Cleopatra to spoil the romance of Shakespeare for me.
Right.
But this marvelous image from Antony and Cleopatra. What sport shall we have this day? Right? You know, oh, this is a great line. And of course, he starts with it in the morning. And Shakespeare's setting up Mark Antony as being this man who's been corrupted by Eastern Oriental hedonism.
Right.
And they're gambling in the morning.
Yeah.
Like on a Saturday morning, I'll sometimes quote this to my wife. You know, what sport shall we have today, right? And she just rolls her eyes and carries on. I'm going to change a diaper. Like, leave me alone.
I do think Cleopatra is good to bring up because of all the classical characters in Shakespeare. I think the one that's most formed our imagination regarding that person it is Shakespeare's take on Cleopatra.
Yes.
Like there's just so much on these other guys that it's not hard to kind of move off of, say, Shakespeare on Julius Caesar.
Right.
Like we're still informed by Shakespeare on Julius Caesar. But I think like when we picture Cleopatra, we picture
His Cleopatra.
Shakespeare's Cleopatra.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's got her goblet of vinegar with her pearl.
Yes.
Yes. We're drinking expensive pearls, you know, like stuff like that.
I learned about that from Asterix.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we might have to see if actually that is in Shakespeare. Yeah.
Well, it is.
Okay.
And that's where Asterix gets it from.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like this fellow wrote 400 years ago, and he's still informing our imagination
Yeah.
today.
It's incredible. Yeah. I actually had a little run-in with someone a little while back. I was at a book study, and we were studying this theologian, a well-known theologian who was, he'd written this little book about family worship and thinking of the family as a church. And the book we were reading, this minister who was, kind of from the Puritan epoch.
Joel Beakey.
Ayo. I was sort of trying to be a little anonymous, but it was Matthew Henry. It was Matthew Henry. So kind of, it's just Matthew Henry.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Anyway, it's this very thin little book, but he made a big deal. Henry did in his book about dads reading to their kids, reading great literature and reading great literature to their kids. And I made a comment, just kind of working off of that, to this group of men about, hey, men should try to like Shakespeare.
Yes.
Right? They shouldn't look at it and be, oh, it's not for me. They should see it as, and I don't think I use this word. If I did, I could maybe that paints the reaction a little bit, but see it as a sort of shortcoming, like it's in me.
Yep.
Right. And I don't have to be all in anguish about it, but I should try to work to enjoy Shakespeare because all these great men are saying he's great. Right. So let's, and Matthew Henry saying I should read the classics to my kids. So
This is a classic.
right. And one guy just flew off the handle. He was so angry at me for suggesting that dudes should read Shakespeare. I was like, well, maybe there's something you should look at with this,
Well,
I remember growing up in high school, and so many of my classmates would just get angry when I told them that they should read Shakespeare. They're like, "Oh, Shakespeare is useless. He doesn't make any sense." And,
But if
I
you
just
say-
remember those conversations.
Yeah.
Well, my love with Shakespeare. Now, I normally don't have anything good to say about public school, but today I'm going to. Part of my education was in the government schools.
Yeah.
Pray for me. Anyway, so
I pray for you constantly.
you should. I need it
Without ceasing.
without ceasing. Yeah. Oh Lord, please help with that. Yep. Yeah. So I had an English teacher in grade 9. She was about 4'10", and she's like, "We are going to sit all our desks in a circle and read the parts of Romeo and Juliet." And so the poor kids were struggling through this thing. And at one point she jumps up and she starts waving her hands. "Did you get it? Did you get the joke?" And the whole class is sitting there looking at her like,
There was a joke?
There was a joke? So when she saw that look, and I'm not joking, she physically jumped up on her desk. She's standing on her desk, and she starts declaiming the line that was just read.
Okay.
And then she turns around, she writes it out on the board, and it was sexual innuendo, as Shakespeare is wont to do. And she wrote it down, and she said, "That's funny." And at that point, I was like, it clicked. I was like, oh, Shakespeare's funny.
Right.
Okay, he's telling a joke. That's locker room kind of humor. And then when you look at the two characters making the joke, you're like, okay, that makes sense for those characters to make. But then we get into the story of Romeo and Juliet, and you've got like these two teenagers falling in love in the middle of a civil war,
Yeah.
in an Italian civil war during the Condottieri period.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is actually politically disastrous for the whole city. And that's why the Lord Mayor is involved.
The political aspect comes out nicely in that 90s take on Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Baz Luhrmann, I think, was the director. It's a really fun version if the audience has ever seen it.
Yeah, when Buddy pulls out a Desert Eagle and then the camera zooms in and it says sword on the side. Oh, man.
Delightful.
It's very delightful. It's like, and then they're shooting at each other while yelling Shakespeare around this car in the gas station. Oh, it's brilliant. So the poor guy's trying to buy gasoline for his car. And they get into a gunfight while they're yelling Shakespeare.
Explosions and helicopters in Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
It's
you didn't know you needed that.
I endorse the movie.
Well, and so that for me was the beginning of my love of Shakespeare. I realized the guy's funny, and he's saying things that he's also when you get to reading him, he's an Elizabethan Anglican.
Yeah.
He's very clearly.
That's actually something like total aside, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I'll give the mic right back to you. But it makes me crazy that people think he was a papist.
Yes, I know.
I mean, are you paying attention?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Go on.
He was totally a Protestant.
Yeah, he was.
Come on.
100%. You listen to what he has to say about God and man.
Yes.
He's clearly a Protestant.
I think the reason we let people get away with saying that is that our Protestantism has become so anemic. Like it's evangelicalism. But an Anglican, I think, can see it a lot more easily.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, they can. And one of the things that in public school that for the last 20 years they've been teaching kids about Shakespeare, they won't actually read Shakespeare, but they teach the children that he was a homosexual.
Oh, wow. This is actually a new one on me.
Oh, yeah, this is a common thing in the Alberta curriculum. And I have actually gone ballistic on a guy, a Christian fellow, a good man.
Well, that ends up being a super easy excuse for a Christian to dismiss.
Exactly.
So
I had a conversation, I remember, about 15 years ago with a fellow. We're driving to Fort Nelson in a pickup truck. Poor guy. And he said, well, I'd never read that stuff. He was gay.
I actually, and maybe I'm just exposing my own ignorance, but I really don't think that's a wide talking point.
Right.
I mean, I've heard Shakespeare doesn't exist.
Right.
I've never heard Shakespeare's gay.
Well, that's in the Alberta curriculum.
Wild.
Yes.
Wow.
So, and that's where he got it from. He's like, no, my teachers were all praising him for being, an early homosexual. And I was like, have you ever read the guy?
Right.
And when you think about that, like the public education system is actually uneducation or anti-education.
Yes.
Because that's just bizarre and stupid.
Well, I mean, they're trying to remake the past. It's not just in the history books.
Remake the past into our current image.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, we've got this Procrustean bed. Let's hammer everything into it.
Right.
Impression.
Yeah. Are you a poet?
No.
Kind of like getting a little bit into something I'm going to be talking about this weekend for our events, but we brought up reactions of men being told, "Hey, you should get into Shakespeare." Those young men or those men would never react that way to being told, "Hey, you should get into carpentry." Right.
Sure.
And this is a very blue collar town.
Yep.
But there's, it's words are tools for creation and dominion.
Yes.
Right. And so,
Yes.
the world is made by the word and was spoken by the word. There's something fundamental as doing things with your hands. And people have different giftings. Mm-hmm. But every father has the responsibility to teach the wielding of words to his family. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so you have to, to some degree, you have to commit to learning that, right?
Yep.
And people are going to have different giftings and different levels, and not everyone has to be a wild poet, but you have to be able to use words and beyond what it takes to understand an instruction manual. You have to teach your children how to have conversations with the world, how to build worlds. How that's a fundamental aspect of being a Christian.
Yeah, well, you bring up the mechanical arts like carpentry. Yeah. I like the old phrase of mechanical art. I like that phrase.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a fracker. We generally don't think of my work as being art. But when you get talking to people about what we do,
right,
there's a lot of art involved.
Brad waxes poetic
about
frack.
About oil rigs.
That's good though. That's actually exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like we are insufficiently poetic about the mechanical arts and insufficiently mechanical about the absolutely. Yes. And so everything just ends up being the arts are just a nebulous cloud of nothingness without definition. Art is completely subjective, and these things over here are real because there are steps and instructions and methods.
Right.
And here's the thing why I think Brad is an amazing person, because I've
just in one sentence, huh?
I'll try.
I'm blushing.
Okay. So in the world of blue collar work, I've run into a lot of really solid guys. I've also run into a number of guys who despise their work. They hate their work. They don't want to be there, etc. So what we need to do is we need to fill the blue collar world with guys who have a Christian imagination about what they're doing.
Yes.
Well, and to inculcate it with biblical beauty and meaning.
Which is why it's so vital that whoever you are, if you are a father, you need to take this mantle up to better equip your kids.
Yep.
I mean, I do see that if you were educated in a public school, you didn't get this from your parents, it is painful. I understand that. Just like learning anything you weren't given as a child. Yeah. But you need to give your kids that, and it's beyond just like, oh well, now he can appreciate a sonnet. No.
Now he is a sonnet.
Yeah, exactly. And when he works wherever he's working, if he's fracking, if he's plumbing, whatever the work is, and whenever and life is hard, right? And you have financial struggles and this and that. The whole time you have the imagination to see the meaning of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big thing. Like I work with a lot of guys who absolutely hate our line of work, and I'm like, well, why are you here? And they're like, well, the money. And I'm like, yeah, but you're all out here not enjoying your money.
Right.
So what was the point of the money? Unless you're doing something meaningful.
Right, exactly.
And if you're doing something meaningful, and then all of a sudden, like this is going to sound real stupid, but when I look at frac iron, 15K frac iron in nice straight lines, wheel valve, check valve, bleed off, chick sand, I'm like, oh. I saw a video of a Halliburton rig in Oklahoma the other day, and I thought to myself, that was an ugly rig in. Like that iron didn't look good.
Yeah. I mean, using a word like ugly to evaluate something practical is.
Yes.
I mean, actually, so I'm a sports coach,
Right, yeah.
and I use aesthetic language to describe technical things.
Yes.
Because the kids need to understand, like. Like ugly play is bad play.
Yes.
There's a reason aficionados of a sport have certain aesthetic ideals.
Yes.
And it's not like you have to like meet that ideal. But if you don't have a sense of beauty when you're playing this sport, and we're teaching you, put your hands here, bend your knees here, right? See the defender coming over. Like there are technical aspects to it. And it's in the building of these technical aspects that the beauty starts to be assembled.
Yes.
And then you see, wow, that was gorgeous, or you see, oh, that was ugly, and that's why we got smashed.
Yes. Well, one of my favorite thing, I was watching I think it was the British Lions playing Western Force.
Okay, yeah.
I was watching the replay of that.
Should we tell the people who the British and Irish Lions are?
Okay, rugby. It's basically the rugby dream team from Britain.
Yeah.
So and they have Irish players from both North and South on that team, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I was watching them play Western Force, and Finn Russell was playing 9. And his ball, he's a Scottish player. His ball distribution is just, it is beautiful. But one of the commentators pointed out that one of the beautiful things about his ball distribution was that he would, in certain situations, hold on to the ball for a half a heartbeat longer than most guys would. And so he's hitting the guy in the offline, running behind the pod.
Yeah.
Like he's
opening the game up.
He's not hitting the next guy. He's hitting the guy over that people didn't. The defenders weren't looking to that third guy because Finn Russell held onto the ball for a half a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
My family and I, so I have a rugby background, and there's something that connects Brad and I, but like we have a deep appreciation for rugby announcers in particular. And it's not like the phrase you just used would have just been rugby players. I could see a lot of sports announcers using this, but there's a big difference between seeing the world and saying Finn Russell holds the ball for half a second longer sometimes, or half a heartbeat longer.
They're not the same thing.
They're not the same thing.
Not at all.
Even if you measure them both, it's a different way of looking at the world.
Yes. Yeah, and the guy used half a heartbeat as the language.
Beautiful.
It's like watching. I was watching the playoffs this year, right? As one does. And Connor McDavid. Everyone's like, he's one of the top 3 players in the world right now. He's one of the greatest that play the game. And I'm watching the guy and the way he was moving both on and off the puck. And you're like, how did he do that? Like it's actually a beautiful game watching him.
Yeah.
He'd pick up the puck and he'd do something and you're like, why did that work? Well, and then it was a heartbeat. It was a half a heartbeat. He got half a step on somebody. And it turns into this marvelous thing.
And we need to embrace the aesthetics of it. Like there are certain players who transcend the game, and it is because of beauty.
Yes.
Right. Brazilians wax poetic about soccer and Pelé, exactly. But I am not a hockey guy. Connor McDavid is beautiful.
Yes.
and I can tell. Yeah. Like he transcends the game to such an extent that I can come in with strange eyes and just see beauty. Wow. Yeah.
That was like the first time I got to watch Michael Jordan on TV.
Right.
You were like, how did that happen?
Right.
Yeah. Or who's that? The white guy.
Oh, Larry Bird?
Yeah, Larry Bird. Oh, man.
Like the white guy. Brad, you're so old, dude. So the current white guy I'm into is Nikola Jokic.
Yes, he's very similar.
Yeah, well, he actually, people have been comparing him to Bird more and more. But the thing I like about Jokic is something that Bird didn't really have, and Bird had things that Jokic doesn't have. Yeah. But Jokic makes the whole team hum. Yeah. And so that's a beauty that Jordan didn't have, for example. Yeah. Right. Like watching the individual Jordan was a beautiful thing. Yeah. Watching a Nikola Jokic team is beautiful. Yeah. And so being able to see there are different ways.
Yes.
A punch in the mouth in a certain sports aspect can be beautiful too.
Oh, it is. Like Matt Hughes was one of the best to ever do it. One of my favorite things though about the '90s Bulls was Rodman.
Yeah, right.
And people, they look at Rodman and they see this crazy guy with his hair on fire.
Yeah.
And he's running around. He looks like a gargoyle and he acts like one in public. But on the court, he what he would do is he took game film and he would analyze it. He would analytically go over game film.
Yeah.
And he would figure out where all the rebounds landed.
Right.
And then he would go to those spots and then he would contest that rebound, grab the ball and throw it to Jordan or Pippen.
Yeah. And that is aesthetic too.
Yeah.
And it is, like on a personal side, watching Rodman's decay.
Yeah.
You can evaluate that aesthetically. And so, of course, it started to leak onto the court as well. And he started to do ugly things. But he, people use the phrase blue collar a lot in sports. He's like a blue collar player. And some of the people who use that phrase mean that they appreciate the mechanical contribution that other players can then use for greatness. But I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Right? Yeah. It is, they are in some ways less appreciated contributions. But the people who are great at that are great at it because of the beauty of the rebound.
Yes.
Right? It's not actually like, okay, well, I guess I got to throw some elbows and like this isn't the fun part. It is fun.
For him, that was everything.
Exactly.
Yes.
And when I played basketball, my number was 00.
Ah, yes.
And 00 has a particular meaning. And actually, my game wasn't really like this. Like I am on the playground, people would give me would nickname me things that indicated that they saw my game was passing, and I was an elegant player. But my goal was to be the so-called blue collar. I chose 00 for a reason. I admired and I wanted to be the guy. And of course, I grabbed rebounds. But I was elegant as I did it. It was just how I'm made. But I admired those the guys who were. And actually, 00. Just a little story. My first date with my wife. We went to a Florida Gators basketball game.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
And they were going through the numbers, and my wife's not a sports person, and introducing everybody, and number 25, so-and-so, number 32, so-and-so, number 00, Brent Wright. I still remember Brent. No one else does. And my wife turned to me and said, 00, what a stupid number. And that is how our relationship started. I am playing this clip to my wife.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That is excellent. Well, my basketball career, I can't shoot, I can't jump, and I can't score.
Okay, so you found other beauties.
Exactly. I played 5 years in high school, and on a pretty good competitive team for our area.
Yeah.
And I perceived my job as winning every defensive battle, making the passes, making the rebounds, being the glue player.
Right.
And that, again, metaphor, the glue player. And I considered it a success when I got the flu one time and I missed practice. And then the next practice I came back, and my coaches and my teammates were they all said the same thing. We missed you because nobody behaved themselves the entire practice, and the coaches made the team run sprints until they threw up.
Oh, wow. Because
the guys wouldn't listen. But if I was there, the guys would listen to the coaches.
So literally, when Brad's not here, it makes me want to vomit.
Yes. So it just pleased me to no end.
Yeah, for sure.
But my best game in high school, I recorded a triple-double.
Oh, nice. Wow.
With 3 points.
Whoa.
Yes.
You're not that tall. You were getting that many blocks?
No. It was rebounds, steals, and assists.
Steals.
Yes.
Nice.
I got 11 in that game.
That is wild.
I know. And I was normally the 6th or the 7th man.
Yeah.
And that game, my coach knew that we were playing a slightly weaker team than the rest of the tournament, and so he started me.
Yeah. 11 steals.
And I just ran the floor with that poor team. It was great. And I had teammates scoring 25 points.
Yeah.
And I had 3. And they were all off of free throws where I'd gotten fouled.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen an 11 steal game.
Yeah, no, it was pretty wild. It was my highlight. It was my career highlight.
Yeah.
I decided to retire after that because
I'm out, coach.
Yeah, I'm out, coach. Yeah, I've done it. I've done everything. My career is complete.
It doesn't seem likely I'm going to top this.
No, in fact, I haven't. There is a beauty in sport that I really think it's also instructive. One of the reasons why I have my sons in team sports is you can learn to be, the background guy who's absolutely essential for all the work that's being done.
Yeah.
Like the offensive linemen, if they don't hold the line in football, the quarterback is not throwing that ball.
Right.
It isn't happening.
Yeah.
You need those guys to do their job. If you're a linebacker, you need to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
If you don't get to the quarterback, well, then your team doesn't get the ball. So, I mean, it's those guys that don't necessarily get all the glory, but they're doing the work, and it's beautiful, and it can be really, really enjoyable as well. It's good fitness, it's all that, but you learn teamwork,
Yeah.
and you learn how to put the mission ahead of your own self.
One of the things I really deeply appreciate about rugby, so rugby is 15-a-side. And of course, there are key positions that you would compare, say, to a football quarterback, but everyone does everything a little bit. And of course, there are specializations, but at a certain moment, the tiny wing who's built like a cornerback is going to have to protect the ball.
Yes.
Against someone as big as me, and he knows it. I'm just hoping to hold out for half a heartbeat. So my bigger teammate can get here, but this is my job right now.
Yeah.
And then the big guys get to carry the ball. But with all these people and all these important jobs to be done, and everyone having to do at least a little bit of every job, it really is kind of an egoless sport.
Yep.
Right. It pushes you into everyone to some degree has to do the dirty work, the background work. At a certain point, the fly half was like a quarterback, and everyone makes fun of him because he's pretty. They're always prettier.
They always
have nice hair.
Who's that guy that plays for Bristol? Oh, he's hysterical.
Okay,
that guy. He's pretty.
Yeah, he is. But at a certain point, that guy is going to have to stop a 300-pounder.
Yes,
once a game.
And you'll see him in the ruck.
Right.
You'll see him in a mall.
Exactly.
And you're like, what's that guy doing in there?
Right. It's well, he had to at that
He's
moment.
Pushing. Yeah. That's what he's doing. He's pushing.
But I also with my kids, I prioritize team sports, mostly rugby, but team sports. I see the value and virtue of individual sports, being the best swimmer, being the best sprinter. But I don't find it as satisfying as learning to be in a team and to collaborate, whatever it is that your job ends up being. Yeah. That to me is especially beautiful. And I think there's a reason the pagan Greeks emphasized naked individuality.
I agree. And it's Christians that emphasize team beauty.
Yes. I think there's a thing there. We should write a book.
Oh, done.
There we
go.
go.
Trinitarian nature of modern sport.
How Christianity affected sport.
Right.
Well, you look at when you think about the pagan sports, you think about the boxer, the wrestler.
Right.
The great statue where the boxer, he's got his wraps on and he's sitting there naked. And he looks like he's in agony because he's suffering from the combat.
He's beating his body, like Paul says.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's beating his body, and he's beating someone else's body because that other guy's not sitting in the sculpture. But there is this when you read Homer, you see the epic hero.
Yeah,
how he's set up. It's interesting to me in the Iliad that Agamemnon and Achilles, they're going at it, and neither is really blamed at a moral level,
right,
for their rage with each other.
Yeah, because they're looking out for their individual glory.
They are.
They're and they both are obligated to do that.
Yeah, in Homer, Achilles is obligated to defend his honor against Agamemnon. Though you would think that the enemy is behind the walls of Troy. Now, with my Christian eyes, when I read the Iliad, it's Hector that I look at.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, this is the hero.
That's why I have a mug that says Team Hector, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But you look at Hector, and he fights for what's behind him. He fights for the glory of his city. He fights for his family. And he loses to the hero who petulantly defends and must defend his own honor. And I find that weird.
Yeah.
And it's reversed in Christendom. So the Song of Roland. Right. He sacrifices himself for his army to get out.
Yeah.
You've got other stories of that kind of nobility. The Last Stand
Right.
is not a Greek thing.
Even with Hector, I mean, I think if we examine any of the great heroes in the Iliad, then we run into problems, right? Like if from a Christian perspective.
Yeah.
But I fully agree, but it is an impossibility that any of those characters should have submitted.
Impossible.
Right? It is impossible.
Yes.
So I think you're absolutely right. There is, the Christian warrior can give up his life, right? But it would, in circumstances that would have shamed a Greek.
Yes.
And so I think that definitely connects to team sports, right? Like you do learn to give up your life, and you like whatever your responsibility is, right? Like, I mean, looking at my size, you can imagine like. I always have an important job, or I did right when I was an athlete, and I was usually the star. That has its own weight of responsibility.
Yeah, because you have to carry the team.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is not a Greek idea at all.
It's not about you; it's about the team. So
right. Exactly.
even
there are
so.
different ways to do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm proud that I was known as a passer.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Exactly.
That could make other people better. And when I watch sports, that's what I like to see.
Yes.
I like to see players that make other people better.
Yeah.
And to me, actually, you're not great
Until you do that.
until you can do that.
Yeah, and that is when you look at the original Olympic sports, there were no team sports.
Right.
You had wrestling, boxing, running, chariot races.
Which is why the moderns brought back the Olympics.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just saying. Yeah, whereas rugby is a very medieval sport.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a medieval sport.
That's right.
And in many ways...
This book is happening.
Yeah, it is happening, yeah. And so is soccer, actually. The problem with soccer...
It's all the same game, just between villages.
Yeah. The problem with modern soccer is that the guys that did not have the mental fortitude to play rugby got into soccer. I mean, if those guys had the same mindset, then that sport would be beautiful again. And
it became a world game, and in a sense, a world game too fast, because there is something about. I mean, the global sports comes from the British.
Yes,
and I do think that the high medieval Protestantism, like moving through time with each of those, is what led to there's just the beautiful attitude about sports and team sports that the British had, and then the Americans and Canadians have that too. But I'm also a Latin, and it's gross to watch a lot of Latins play soccer. And I honestly think those civilizations were not prepared for sports.
Yeah,
it's just because what motivates you to play? Right. Is personal glory and honor. How do we look at cheating and taking shortcuts?
Dives.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when the Dutch played the Spanish in the World Cup in 2010, Iniesta took a dive, and it led to the Spaniards winning. And I remember watching that, being like, "Oh!" And how long ago was that now? And I'm still,
you're still chuffed over.
I'm still chuffed over it. And the thing is I wasn't even cheering for the Dutch.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch a beautiful game.
Right.
And at a key moment, Iniesta took a dive. It's like Maradona's hand of God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Where
and people justify that. Like, that's disgusting.
He justified it in the huddle. Some of his teammates after the goal, they were like, "You put that in with your hand," and he's like, "It's okay to steal from thieves." Of course, he's referring to the Argentine War. Which, sorry, Maradona, that was not stolen from you. Anyway.
But winning righteously is important.
It's beautiful,
and actually it affects all of life. I think there are a lot of things in the geopolitical scene, for example, where we are so pragmatic that there are certain things that a civilization or a society or any group of people, a church, could do that would forfeit their right to still exist. Right. So if you, and this is gonna hit closer to home than maybe people would want, but if you kill innocents, you have forfeited your right. If that's what it took to preserve your existence, you should have stopped existing. Right. And that would be the Christian attitude, right? We are doing everything we can to fight to preserve the life of our little society, whatever it is. until the moment when the only way to stay alive is moral compromise. Like, it is better to die. But, most human societies don't act that way because they're not Christian.
Yeah.
So if the only reason you still exist is that you're killing women and children, you should not exist. And of course, you guys can probably think of like the societies I'm thinking of, but
I'm thinking of abortion.
Well, exactly. I was actually not thinking of that directly when I said those things. That's why I said it would be painful.
Yes.
Because Canadians and Americans need to look that in the face.
Yes.
Yes.
The West doesn't deserve to exist anymore.
Yeah.
And if we do, it's by grace. So we need to repent.
Yeah.
But we have forfeited our right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What point is there in living dishonorably?
Right. Precisely right.
And honor too is a thing that in the ancient world meant defending my prerogative against yours in a personal, like Agamemnon and Achilles.
Right.
Whereas in the Christian sense, honor has to do with living before the face of God.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
but it's real honor.
It is.
It's not.
It's not fake pagan honor. Yeah,
Right.
and that's the other thing too is that we have to look at classical honor, pagan honor, and see that is dishonor.
Yeah.
Well, constantly in the Bible, we're running for a crown. We're running for the wreath of glory. So there is something comparable, but it's the Greek search for honor is an inversion of the Christian search for honor.
Well,
Right.
and I'm reminded of when Paul is in Athens and he's looking at at all the idolatry, and he's like, "Well, let me tell you about the God that you're worshiping in ignorance."
Yeah.
Like the Greeks, their honor is ignorant honor.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and Christian honor is true.
This distinction we're drawing is not just a New Testament thing because we're quoting the New Testament, but the honor before Yahweh God has always been the same.
Yeah.
And you can see it in the Old Testament. And one of the ways you see it is something I think we don't bring up a lot because of the virus of feminism. But pagan literature does not treat women the way our scriptures do.
That is true.
Right,
That is true.
And there's a reason for that. Like the way our people in the past lived before God exalted and glorified women.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's always been a different sense of honor.
Yeah, you look at, again, returning to Homer, because, again, he's poetic, so he's probably one of the best of the pagans.
Yeah,
Penelope in the Odyssey.
right.
That's our most complete picture of a woman, really.
Yes,
Until you get to Dido in the Aeneid.
right.
When you look at Dido and Penelope, they look nothing like Esther
Right. Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right.
or Ruth
Or Bathsheba
or Bathsheba.
Yeah.
She's an interesting lady. Like,
coming to appeal to David for
Yeah.
her son Solomon.
yeah.
Yeah.
In particular.
Like, and especially given her backstory, that's a very interesting
Yeah.
thing for her to do. Then you've got your Rahabs and
Ruth.
and Sarah and
Yep.
all these women. They don't look anything like Penelope.
I'm going to plug a work of mine since this is
Please do.
where we're moving. On my Substack, joffreswait.substack.com, I think, you can find a long poem I've written. It takes about an hour to read. It's one work. It's called "Women of Greece,"
Yes.
and it is all about Greek mythology and Greek women until the end. There's a Christian ending, but actually the centerpiece that it revolves around. There's one little verse that is about Rahab.
Okay. Interesting.
And the whole thing kind of turns around her and like how we think of women, but mostly the play. It's a poetry play, but it is a send up and a parody of Greek mythology and and how they talk about women.
Yep.
So I think since I wrote it, it's a pretty good way. Anyway, you can buy the ebook for on my Substack.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, that's. I saw that you published that. I haven't got it yet, but now I'm even more interested.
I mean, you get a hard copy on at least American Amazon print on demand. Ooh.
Are you self-publishing a new book?
Well, I don't know. I have a manuscript ready to rock, and I don't know if I want to. So my last book was published by Canon Press, so not a poetry establishment. I don't know what I can do with this next manuscript. I don't want to talk to poetry publishers.
Okay.
Yeah, because you'll not get readers with those guys.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I might actually, and I think of myself as a public poet, and one of the things as a poet I try to do is to I want to be understood by any generous person.
Right.
Right. Anyone who is willing to try to understand me, I want to be understood by that person. And so that's how I write. And, the poetry publishers are not that. And they, their audience, like a lot of the modern art world, their audience is artists. Right. And I'm not interested in selling poetry books to poets.
It's very self-referential.
I may end up self-publishing. But if you want to start a publisher and just publish me, that'd be great.
I don't.
Deer in the headlights is now the look.
One of these days, we're going to get a publishing house in Canada. Currently, I'm just self-publishing all my own books.
Nice.
And I haven't written any.
Get together.
I haven't written anything long enough to have a book yet.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we can have like a collaboration of self-publishing or something like that.
I like it. I'm working on a poem right now, actually. I'm trying my hand at poetry.
Nice.
I'm trying to write a poem about potatoes because I love potatoes.
They are delicious.
They are. And I love planting them, and I love harvesting them, and I like eating them. But it's very difficult because I'm not a skilled poet.
I would be honored if I could read that at some point over this weekend.
I will try to, But I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
My wife wrote something very poetic for me for our 8th anniversary, so I feel compelled that I really need to start writing more poetry myself.
Well, it's funny. My wife wrote a poem about one of our sons, and I said, "Can I put this on my Substack and attribute it to you?" And she said, "Sure." And it was one of the best reviewed things that I got in my early publishing.
Wow!
I was like, "Oh, she's better than I am. Sweet."
Nice. Yeah, that's great.
So I'm like, "You got any more of this?" And she's like, "No, I'm cooking." And I'm like, "Oh." So her poetry is at the table.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That moment sounds like a nascent poem.
It does. It does. Yeah.
I can't write poetry. I'm cooking. There's something there.
I think it sounds poetic too. I just roared because I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. So I'm busy. I got things to do. Like
I got potatoes to make.
Yeah. Well, it's like Mary and Martha, right? At the feet of Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah. And Mary's like, hello.
Yeah.
No, potatoes. I think there's something there. I mean, like a McDonald's French fry.
Oh yeah.
Like a
Is
classic.
that also the best fast food fry in Canada? I would say it's the best in the U.S.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. So after
A&W
this,
fries are way better.
I think so.
Ooh.
No.
I mean, I'll have to try the Canadian A&W fries. I don't.
A&W is a
Not
different
American
character
A&W.
in Canada than it is in the States.
The beef is different.
They're better.
Okay. So speaking of poetry, maybe we should go on a fast food tasting tour.
That is
Oh,
poetic.
there you go.
We're going to do this today. We're doing this today. So we're going to go buy fries at all of the places.
Perfect.
And I'll get you an A&W burger, and you are.
Okay.
It's not the same as in the States.
All right. Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready then.
Excellent.
Like a teen burger. Oh, just now.
A&W beef is way better than most of the other
Fast
fast
joints.
foods out here.
Yeah, I would not say that's the case in the U.S. So
Really?
I believe already.
It's Alberta beef out here apparently. So I don't know if there's something different about.
Oh, there
Alberta.
is.
Okay.
Is A&W a thing in Eastern Canada?
Not really.
Not as much. No, I don't
I
think so.
never went to A&W in Ontario.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never been to Eastern Canada.
Well, I was in Eastern Canada once. So, and this is poetic. Pastor Nathan was moving out here, and his wife was having a baby.
There's something very poetic about
Mrs. Eckfeld's having a baby, so they're not going to drive. She's not going to
Right.
drive across this country while just having had a baby, right? This is not fair. So then my brother and I were like, well, we'll go get all your stuff and bring it here.
Okay.
So he had a
Nice.
U-Haul van, and one of our parishioners, he's like, hey, borrow my car. It's really good on gas. I'm like, okay. So Nathan, get a car hauler with your U-Haul van, and Steve and I will drive the car to wherever you wind up. We'll put the car on the car hauler, and then we'll haul it back, put it in storage, and then you can just bring your minivan after the baby's born. So Steve and I, now understand, Ottawa is like literally half a world away.
Yeah.
I think it's
2,600 miles, I think.
You were in Ottawa?
he went to Ottawa.
Yeah,
That was the point that he made it to.
I was in PEI. We connected in Ottawa.
I see.
And then I
Okay.
drove to Toronto to stay there for 2 months.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we drove this car, Steve and I, my brother. Okay, now this is the funny thing about it. We work in a job where we could be in a 2-week set. We work days on and days off, right? So you have 15 days on, 13 days off, or 15 and 6. That's the schedule. So he or I could be anywhere from Pink Mountain, which is 5.5 hours north of here, all the way down to like Lethbridge.
Okay.
In a given week, which is south of Calgary.
Yep.
So that's a huge span of distance we could be. So Wednesday is crew change day, and I was on night shift, so I switched over. Or I stayed on night shift actually for this trip, but Steve was on day shift, and he had to drive equipment to Red Deer on Wednesday. He gets back to town at 7. I pick him up, take him to his house. He has a quick shower. We jump in the car. He goes to sleep. So 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, we start driving. We get back to Grand Prairie at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday morning.
That's absolutely amazing to me.
Yeah.
What you guys did.
Yeah. So we like that drive. Basically, if you were driving, you were awake, and if you were not driving, you were sleeping.
You're asleep. Yeah.
So we had some energy drinks, Jocko Fuel, good stuff. And if we wanted food, like a pizza, we would order ahead. So we'd look and we'd be like, which town are we going to be in half an hour? Phone them up, hey, I'd like a pizza.
True road warriors.
Yeah, we would pull in, pay for the pizza, grab the pizza, throw it on the dash, and carry on.
I am not going to ask how you went to the bathroom.
Well, stop and use a tree, right? So
it was really funny because we met at my younger brother's house in Ottawa, and they ran in, took a shower,
ate a sandwich.
And they ate a sandwich and were out of there within an hour.
Wow.
I told them, I was like, there's like a biker convoy coming to Ottawa. Don't you guys want to go join the biker convoy or something? And Brad's like, no, I want to get out of the city as fast as possible.
Yes. In fact, I believe I called Ottawa the heart of darkness, which, again, poetic compression. Yeah. It's like the Belgian Congo, morally speaking.
You don't want to see the Parliament buildings?
No.
No, Brad had no interest.
I was like, no.
That's where all the truckers were arrested.
Yeah, this was just after the trucker convoy. So we get in this U-Haul thing, and Steve had brought some cigars. So we're sitting there smoking these cigars, stuck in traffic behind a bunch of bikers, trying to get out of town. And then I look up, and right on the mirror, do not smoke in car. And we're like, oops.
Good thing I didn't read this ahead of time.
Yeah. Exactly. Ignorance is bliss.
Yep.
But we got back just in time for church.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Because that's a really long ways.
Yes.
And the
Like
whole church hears like the engine sounds. Like
It's
do you actually pull
2,500
in with the
miles there.
truck?
It's 2,500 miles back.
Oh, yeah.
And they left Wednesday and they got back Sunday morning.
Yeah. No, I had enough time. I took the truck to my house, parked it, jumped in the family car with my wife, went to church.
Wow.
Yeah. It was great fun. And So
look at this. These people loved you before you even arrived.
Yeah.
That is divine.
Well, this was
Yes,
the first
it
time
is.
that his wife met anybody from our church.
Yeah,
Hey, good to meet you. I gotta go.
Yeah, actually, my wife drove into town and had never met anybody out here before. I had met people because I worked out here for a year, but anyway, it was quite something.
Yeah.
No, the poetry of a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, even funnier, like my sister, she called my brother at one point. My sister's like, she's a traveler.
Okay.
And she'll go places and she'll take pictures, and they're great pictures. And I see these pictures, I'm like, man, that's a beautiful place. And so she phoned Steve, and she's like, you're driving past Lake Superior. And Steve's like, yeah, we are. And she's like, well, you should take a picture, or some pictures for me, right? Of Lake Superior. He's like, okay. So he gets off the phone, rolls down the window, holds the phone up, and then sends it to her. Now, the problem was it was 10 o'clock at night, and it's completely pitch black.
Yeah.
So she gets this pitch black picture, and she's like, what's that? And he's like, that's Lake Superior, and we're not stopping.
That's awesome.
All right.
We've got
So buy Joffre's poetry books on Canon Press.
Yes, and
Yes.
Women of Greece on Substack.
Right.
yes, and if you get opportunity, if you're well, I guess you won't get opportunity because this won't air for a while. Joffrey's in town to do a poetry reading in support of the mission that he's working with, and that's going to be happening like tonight. So,
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
It's a Friday.
Well, that is
now.
like
But
tonight.
yeah,
It's
it doesn't
very like
actually matter because the audience who hears this is going to be friendlily disposed toward me, knowing that I was here in Grand Prairie and I was loving it. Yeah,
And when we get the poet laureate of the CRAC back in like 2 or 3 years, then you'll have 500, or maybe we can fill out the Bonnet Center.
boom. Ooh, okay.
A hockey arena for a poetry reading. I like this.
That'd be amazing.
That would be.
Lord, let it be.
We filled it out for Jordan Peterson, so why not Joffre Swait?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The problem with
Wait, no. Stop qualifying that. Isn't that a great ending note?
it is.
Like comparing me to Jordan Peterson.
This is perfect.
well,
Let's let Jamie wrap up.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right. Well, this has been a great deal of fun to have this conversation around the table. It's a delight for us to be able to bring conversations like this to you here on the Chinook podcast. It is our delight to be able to share this content with you. We really desire that the Lord would take the works of our hands and the words of our mouths and build his kingdom and develop it here. We want to see the Spirit of the Lord move in Western Canada and thaw out the frozen hearts of our neighbors, which is why we called ourselves the Chinook Podcast. That is our desire to see. And so we want to commend this conversation to you, and we hope you enjoy it. Blessings to you all.
and I do have problems with Jordan Peterson.
All right, cheerio.